January 6th stuff that is like so over at this point. It's so over. The left's overreaction, the left's reaction to it in some places was so over the top. It was like me and two other colleagues who were there, who were outside. And we were just having fun. Dude, come on. Like, you were not in any danger.
Matthew Rosenberg is a Pulitzer Prize-winning national security correspondent for the New York Times. In multiple meetings with one of our undercover journalists, Rosenberg reveals a lot about the inner workings and inner turmoil at the Times. For starters, he doesn't hesitate to undermine his own paper's coverage of the events that took place in our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, and chides corporate media's reaction, or in his own words, overreaction.
Like, I think you could tell how much fun we had on January 6th.
Oh, that's great. Are you allowed to have that much fun on January 6th? Aren't you supposed to be mourning?
I know. So if you're traumatized. But like, all these colleagues who are in the building, a little younger, who's like, oh my God, this is so scary. I'm like, oh,
Is that really the vibe there?
From them. I'm like, it's not the kind of place I can say tell somebody to man up, but I kind of want to. You're like, dude, come on. Like, you were not in any danger.
Got an Zola, got an Adam, Goldman, Sabrina, Tavernese, a bunch of photographers. Then there were people inside the Capitol.
Yeah, who was inside?
Little dweebs who keep going on about their trauma. I'm like, guys, shut the enough. I guess it was scarier.
Did they write about it? Oh God, please tell me who so I can read.
I don't know if they wrote about their trauma. This chick named Emily Cochran and this guy named Nick Fandos. They were both like in their 20s.
Nick Fandos?
Fandos. They covered, Nick doesn't anymore, they covered Congress. So they're congressional reporters.
The story I got sucked into doing was like, I do investigative stuff. I usually do like longer term things. But I got back to work on Monday. And the managing editor had a great idea that he could have had a month ago, which was like, we should really, me and a colleague had done like a very long 7,000 word story last year in February about like kind of the big lie about the Stop the Steal campaign, which was a very organized campaign. It wasn't like an organic thing. He's like, can we do like part 2 of that, like what's going on in the years from January 6th, kind of like memory holing it, like making it it's no big deal. Yeah, we can do that. It's a little quick turnaround, so we've been doing the last few days. That's the story. But it's in a meeting, and I'm like, one of the issues here is that, like on the Fox News of the world, elsewhere, is that the left's overreaction, the left's reaction to it in some places was so over the top that it gave the opening the right needed to start introducing the idea of, well, these people are out of control. Like, it's not a big deal as they're making it. They were making too big a deal. They were making this organized thing that it wasn't. And that gave the opening for the lunatics on the right to be like, oh, well, nothing happened here. It was just a peaceful bunch of tourists, And it's like, but nobody wants to hear that.
Not as big of a deal as the media made it out to be? Well, that hasn't stopped Rosenberg from publishing his Part 2 article earlier this year describing the false narratives that circulate around January 6th in the events that unfolded.
We're the ones, not Fox, not Breitbart, who actually went and uncovered the fact that, there were a ton of FBI informants on the people who attacked the Capitol. That was us, not the right-wing guys. You need the sources from within to dig into those places. You need the sources from within to dig into those places. But it's especially over the CIA, NSA, because if you work there, you get polygraphed every year, and you're asked if you spoke to a reporter. Your answer is anything but no, you're in deep trouble. You're often talking to former people who are talking to people who are still there.
Got it. Okay, say that again.
You're also talking to people who are recently left, who are still talking to people on the inside. So people on the inside cannot talk.
Well, do you talk to people who got arrested and their families? Or their neighbors?
There's just neighbors and stuff. Families usually don't want to talk for good reason.
Have you guys talked to anybody who's actually been arrested?
Yeah, although most of them, the lawyers have told them not to talk to us. Like if you're facing serious criminal charges, you probably laughing. You should just talk to a journalist. Unless there's like a very specific reason that you need, that some good can come of it. Like, there's no way you should talk to me. No good's gonna come of it.
Why not?
Because anything you say can end up in court, and you just don't want to be at risk. I wouldn't know.
Rosenberg is right. What good can come from speaking to a journalist who privately describes the events on January 6th as not a big deal, yet spins something entirely different for the world to read in his newspaper? Project Veritas has received letters from those incarcerated for being present that day. Voices that remain unheard describe a total lack of due process. spurred by the reactions, or in Rosenberg's words, overreaction, of how those events were portrayed around the world by the media and politicians. Stay tuned for part 2 of the series as Rosenberg continues to delve deeper into the turmoil and inner workings at the New York Times, including a serious admission about the infamous Trump P-tapes. You definitely won't want to miss that. Matt, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. How you doing? How you doing? You're on tape, and you're talking about January 6th, and I would like your comment for the story. We're launching it tonight. It doesn't look good. It's about January 6th. Quote, it was like me and 2 other colleagues who were there on January 6th outside, and we were just having fun. I know I'm supposed to be traumatized, but like all these colleagues who are in the Capitol building are like, oh my God, it was so scary. I'm like, off.
What do you want me to do?
It's just like your comment. You're not gonna. You've already commented. You're already on tape.
We're just gonna hit you.
We're gonna do you justice, and if you think I'm giving you a hit job, I'd like you to tell me why. Who are you texting right now?
I'm trying to text people.
But you knew that you were being spoken to.
And yeah, will I stand by those comments? Absolutely.
You will stand by the comments.
I mean, I don't know what comments. You have to tell me the comments.
I'll show you. It's not a big deal as they're making it. They were making it too big a deal. They're making it this organized thing that it wasn't. There's a tug of war. This is a quote from you. Quote, tug of war at the New York Times between reasonable people and some of the crazy leftist shit, unquote. So would you be willing to sit down with me and speak on the record about this?
No way, man.
Why not?
No way. You know, come on.
There's no way you're willing to speak to me.
You got me in a bar in a social situation.
Like, I'll overhear a conversation, and like, look, if you're talking in public, it's fair game.
Okay.
Is it what you said true or false?
Straight, you got me in a bar in a social situation.
Right.
This is me talking shit in a bar. You think that's news? It is what it is.
Well, you guys, I mean, this is what you guys do, right?
Like, I'll overhear a conversation, and like, look, if you're talking in public, it's fair game.
Okay.
Say, you also talked about the P-tape, the Trump P-tape. You talked about your sources in the CIA. And you said that you get around the polygraph situation by going through intermediaries.
You need the sources from within to dig into those guys. It's especially over the CIA, NSA, because like, if you work there, you get polygraphed every year, and you're asked if you spoke to a reporter. If your answer is anything but no, you're in big trouble. You're often talking to former people who are talking to people who are still there.
I think that's interesting. As a journalist, you're talking about your sources in the
I wasn't
NSA.
talking about my sources.
Oh, well, you actually were.
I didn't name anyone.
Right, but you did talk about sources as a journalist.
It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you too.
I think we know
Yeah.
that there's been no comment here.
Yeah, well, you've already given us many comments.
Not spoken to you many times.
Well, you've spoken to my colleague many times. What's interesting to me about journalism, it's very much a pleasure for me, I can tell you that. What's interesting to me is you talk about the NSA, National Security Agency, and the CIA that were involved in the P-tape. And you said the P-tape, of course, doesn't exist. It was completely ridiculous.
It was great. It involved the CIA and NSA, it involved Trump, it involved that ridiculous like P-tape, which of course doesn't exist.
What do you think your guys at the NSA are going to think about this video of you talking about them like that?
Sir, there's a swift no comment. There's just a no comment.
Right. But when the...
Oh, God. I'm not going to talk to you guys. And I wish you'd get the cameras out of my face too, please.
Well, this is in America. We have a First Amendment in this country. Well, what do you think that your people in the agencies are going to think about these recordings of you talking about the CIA polygraph stuff?
Sir, I've told you there's no comment here.
Do you think that the people in the agencies are manipulating the journalist rather than the other way around? Like they puppet you. They feed you the stuff, whether it's true or not.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you too. I'm going to go with you. Why not have your actions in public match your actions in private?
Sir, I think I made it pretty clear we're not going to talk about this.
Well, you already have spoken about it privately, and I have recordings of you. That's the thing about journalism, right? You use anonymous sources. You say people familiar with the matter. Most of your sources don't speak publicly. So why is it okay for you to do what you do, but not okay for me to do what I do?
I'm going to duck in here. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Why are you ducking in? Were you going to the pharmacy? Are you hiding in a pharmacy?
No, I'm just running an errand.
Why not just engage us in conversation? That's right. The New York Times reporter Matthew Rosenberg ducking in to a pharmacy. Unable to engage in defamation, the New York Times journalist is simply rendered mute. They use anonymous sources, they say people familiar with the matter, and of course, that's not what we do. We show the lips moving, we show the videotape.
Neither of us could have anticipated how the day ended up going, but we were there, disguised as reporters, interviewing people, trying to document the day's events.
getting his disguise on.
Okay, so I'm gonna wear a mask underneath the mask. Okay.
Just for a little extra protection, because it's very well maybe a super spreader kind of thing.
You should wear this.
Oh god.
Here, this is your mask.
Oh my god, the America mask. I might take this America beanie too, because this Trump 2020 hat. Hard to stomach, I might wear it backwards side. Hard to stomach, I might wear it backwards side. Backwards side. Backwards.
In case, I spoke to my Antifa operative in Portland, and she said the ones going to DC are going to wear camouflage, cutoffs, and Trump paraphernalia to blend in, but turning their MAGA hats backward for identification, so feel free to pass that along. Okay, so they're going to be people in MAGA clothes, but wearing their MAGA hats backwards, or their Trump paraphernalia backwards, to identify themselves. You mean like this? Yeah, so this guy is claiming to be a witness of something, and I'll play that.
Start with your first and last name and where you're from?
Yeah, I'm Thomas Barani from New Jersey.
Can you show us your hand?
Yeah.
How did you get that on your hand?
Well, we had stormed into the chambers inside, and there was a young lady who rushed through the windows. A number of police and Secret Service were saying, get back. And Secret Service were saying, get back. And Secret Service were saying, get back. Get down, get out of the way. She didn't heed the call, and as we kind of raced up to grab people and pull them back, they shot her in the neck, and she fell back on me and started saying she was fine, it's cool.
You can see Barani making a hand movement, and he touches right on the back, and Barani signals her to get into place. And she goes through, and she's ready to fall. Then they all scatter. Notice this guy in the background. No one looks in the direction of all these people into breaking down the doors, only to
kind of like moving weird, and blood was coming out of her mouth, ushering us out with their sticks.
Where did you enter the building and where did you exit?
Other side with the scaffolding. We tore through the scaffolding through flashbangs.
He's going out of his way to show that Trump Pence hat to the camera. No reason for him to look that way. Just, I want you to see my Trump Pence hat. Yeah, I'm wearing a Trump Pence hat. Yeah, I just want you all to know I'm a Trump Pence guy that stormed the Capitol when we had this people wearing their hat backwards to identify themselves as Antifa. I think it's Antifa.
Dude, I'm not f***ing with you. You gotta blend in. I'm absolutely not kidding. You need to have an identifier. They won't trust you unless there's a visual, like there's something visual.
What do we think, folks? Do we trust this is a Trump supporter? There is an imposter among us.
I mean, you could also wear this.
Yeah, the America hat might be my move, but we'll see. I'll bring them both in my backpack.
We've got Fox News. Oh wait,
CNN. We're ready to
We're ready.
I don't know if we're committing crimes doing this, but you know, like we're.
So are you insinuating that I don't work for all three of these companies simultaneously?
A lot of people are saying the liberal media's calling our side, you know, a bunch of domestic terrorists. And it's like, we're not all domestic terrorists. It's like,
there's definitely some domestic terrorists right in our own government making a fraudulent election right now. We all know Donald Trump won the election. The American people are not stupid as you guys think we are on the news networks. Half those people should be run for treason for the fear mongering and all that they do to get their way and pout. They're like babies.
We were surrounded by people who wanted to just have a moment on camera to brag about what they were doing.
Mission accomplished.
About what the day had become. Because we were the people they trusted with the truth. Because we were the people they trusted with the truth.
Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism and American patriotism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures. Even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When the military boot crashes him, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.